You see, a lot of people don't understand what it means to start with nothing. I'm not talking about a not much. I'm talking about nothing. No connections, no money, no guidance, no handout, no plan B, just hunger, just a fire in your soul saying, there's more than this. I came from the bottom. Slept in abandoned buildings, ate out of trash cans, didn't know where my next meal was coming from, didn't know what tomorrow looked like. But I made a decision. I will not die. Here, I made a decision. I'm not gonna let my past dictate my future. I made a decision. I'm gonna go from nothing to something, and I'm gonna take everybody watching with me. You don't choose where you start, but you do choose if you stay there. That's the first thing I had to understand when I looked around and realized I had nothing, no money, no home, no direction. But what I did have was real. I had pain. I had a hunger. I had a dream that wouldn't die. And so I made a decision that changed everything. I said to myself, you can own this beginning, but you don't have to stay here. Too many people let where they start become a life sentence. They talk like, I came from the bottom, and they wear it like a badge. But deep down they use it as a reason not to grow. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to sit around and let my background become my excuse. I made it my fuel. People think you gotta be ashamed of where you came from. But I'm telling you right now, your story is your strength. You're not weak because you started with nothing. You're powerful because you're still standing, still breathing, still dreaming. That pain you've been through, that's proof you've survived. That's your testimony. I don't hide where I came from. I embrace it. I own it. Because if you never acknowledge where you are, you never know how far you've come. I was homeless. I was broken. But I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't let that define me. I was not going to let that be the end of my story. I chose to be the one in my family to break the cycle. And I want you to know, you can be that one too. There's power in owning your beginning. Because when you do, you stop blaming the world and you start building your future. I stopped pointing fingers. I stopped playing victim. I started showing up for myself, even when no one else did. Even when it was cold, even when it was cold, even when it was lonely. Even when I didn't know what the next step was, I still showed up. I had to decide that the pain of staying the same was worse than the pain of changing. That's when things started to shift. Not because life got easier, but because I got stronger. And when you come from nothing, people doubt you. They tell you what you can't do. Teachers wrote me off. Friends laughed at my dreams. They said, be realistic. And you know what I told them. My reality is different. My reality is hunger. My reality is grind. My reality is grind. My reality is that I'm not staying. I didn't need them to believe in me. I needed me to believe in me. I had to believe that something was possible even when I couldn't see it. That's what faith looks like. That's what growth looks like. That's what ownership looks like. You see, when you don't own your beginning, you end up trying to run from it your whole life. You pretend like it didn't happen. You wear masks. You build a fake life and then wonder why you feel empty. But when you look in the mirror and say, yes, this is where I started. And no, it doesn't look pretty, but this is mine and I'm going to use it. That's when real transformation began. I didn't need a perfect start. I needed the truth. And the truth was, I was broke, busted, and broken, but I was still breathing. And while I'm breathing, I'm fighting. I didn't let shame talk louder than my dream. I didn't let insecurity write my script. I didn't wait for permission to change. I got up and moved. I got up and studied. I got up and worked. I failed. I got embarrassed, but I got back up. That's what ownership looks like. It's not about pretending you got it all together. It's about refusing to let your past have the last word. It's about saying, oh, this is my beginning, but it's not my end. I started with nothing, but I had everything I needed. A reason? Let me be clear. I'm not saying the journey was easy. It was hell, but I made it out. And every time I look back, I don't feel regret. I feel pride. Not because I had it all figured out, but because I refused to quit. I refused to be a product of my past. I turned my pain into purpose, my wounds into wisdom, my setbacks into setups. I used every ounce of failure to build a foundation. So when the world came at me again, I didn't break. I stood taller. I need you to understand this. Your beginning is not a curse. It's a calling. It's your starting line, not your finish line. And the moment you accept it, the moment you embrace it, the moment you stop wishing it were different and start working with what you had, that's the moment you take your power back. I came from nothing, but I owned it. I didn't let it own me. And now I'm something, not because I got lucky, not because someone saved me, but because I decided this story is mine. And I'm the one who gets to write the next chapter. Hard work isn't just an option when you come from nothing. It's the only option. When I was sleeping in abandoned buildings, digging through trash for food, nobody came to rescue me. Nobody handed me a miracle. I didn't have money. I didn't have influence. I didn't have connections. But I had this hunger in me, and I knew that if I worked harder than anybody else, eventually I'd climb out of the hole I was in. People want success, but they don't want the struggle. They want the prize, but they don't want the process. Let me tell you something. There is no shortcut, no magic hack, no easy way out. The only way out is through, and the only way through is hard work. Everybody's got dreams. Everybody wants to be successful, but most people don't want to put in the work. They want to work when it feels good. They want to grind when the sun is shining. But let me tell you, real success is built in the dark. It's built when nobody's clapping for you. It's built when you're exhausted and discouraged and still pushing forward. It's built at 4 a.m. when the world is asleep and you're still chasing your purpose. That's the grind. That's the difference between people who wish and people who win. I didn't outsmart anybody. I worked them. I didn't show up with more talent. I showed up with more fight. I was willing to do what others would so I could live how others could. You gotta make hard work your identity. It can't be something you do sometimes. It's gotta be who you are. When people look at you, they need to see discipline. They need to feel your work ethic. I wanna be so committed to my grind that when I walk in the room, people feel it. They feel my hunger. They feel my drive. Because I made a decision that I was going to give everything I had every single day until I got to where I needed to be. There were no excuses. There was no plan B. It was all or nothing. You can't control how talented you are. You can't control what family you were born into, but you can control how hard you work. That's the great equalizer. That's what puts you in the room. That's what levels the playing field. You may not be the smartest. You may not have the best resume. But if you got that grit, that consistency, that fire to show up and go harder than everybody else, you will win. Eventually, the person who works the hardest becomes the one nobody can ignore. I remember the nights when I was studying while everybody else was partying. I remember skipping sleep to make moves. I remember working 2 jobs, going to school, and still finding time to build something for myself. It wasn't because I enjoyed the grind. It was because I knew I had to outwork my circumstances. I couldn't afford to be lazy. I couldn't afford to take days off. My future was on the line. Every day I showed up, I was making a deposit into the life I wanted. Every rep, every hour, every drop of sweat was a building block. That's what it means to hustle. That's what it means to bet on yourself. People think success is sexy. They see the cars, the money, the lifestyle, but they don't see the years of sacrifice, the pain, the failures that came before. They don't see the grind, and when they finally do, most of them run because working hard doesn't feel good. It's lonely, it's brutal, it demands everything from you, but it also gives you everything. You have to be willing to push past comfort. Comfort is the enemy. Comfort keeps you average. Growth lives on the other side of hard work, and you don't get there unless you're willing to suffer a little. You gotta be okay being tired. You've gotta be okay being uncomfortable, because that's where the magic happens. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to work for it, period. And if you're not working for it, then beyond working for it, then be honest with yourself, you don't want it. You like the idea of it, but you don't want it. Because when you really want it, nothing stops you. Not the pain, not the setback, not the people doubting you, nothing. You just keep pushing. You wake up early, you stay up late. You move with urgency, because deep down, you know nobody's coming to save you. It's on you. I got where I am today because I made hard work a lifestyle. I didn't wait for motivation. I showed up regardless. Rain or shine, tired or not, I was there. And I'm telling you, if you do that, if you commit to working like your life depends on it, because it does, then you will rise. You will go from nothing to something, not because it was handed to you, but because you earned it with every single step. That's how you win. That's how you win something out of nothing. You grind every single day. Success doesn't come to the person who moves the fastest. It comes to the person who stays consistent. That was a truth I had to learn the hard way. I started with nothing, no money, no support, no direction, but I had this fire in my soul, and more than anything else, I had to learn how to keep showing up. I had to understand that my situation wasn't going to change overnight. It wasn't going to shift just because I was passionate for a week or two. Circumstances don't respond to short-term emotion. They respond to long-term dedication. I had to choose consistency even when my circumstances screamed otherwise. I had to show up to the gym when my body was tired. I had to hit the books when my mind was exhausted. I had to work when nobody clapped, when nobody encouraged me, when it seemed like nothing I was doing mattered. But it did matter. It mattered because over time, every little effort, every moment of commitment, every brick I laid, those things started building something real. See, most people quit because things don't change fast enough. They think they'll start grinding, and in a few weeks they'll see results. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get to plant a seed today and eat the fruit tomorrow. You've got to water that seed day in and day out. You got to protect it from storms. You got to trust that growth is happening even when it's invisible. That's where most people lose. They stop because they think nothing is happening. But consistency isn't about immediate results. It's about building momentum that can't be stopped. I didn't see changes for a long time. I worked while others rested. I sacrificed while others played. And I doubted myself more times than I could count. But I didn't stop. That was the difference. The truth is, motivation fades. Some days you're inspired, some days you're not. Some mornings you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you just want to pull the covers over your head. But successful people don't let feelings dictate their actions. They move with discipline. They move with commitment. I had to train myself to get up and go to work, whether I felt like it or not. I had to become the kind of person who was faithful to the process, because I knew the process would be faithful to me if I gave it enough time. And it did. Eventually, that work started to pay off. I didn't need to be great. I just needed to be consistent. I remember showing up to speak at events when only 3 people were in the room. I remember pouring out my heart, knowing that nobody might remember my name, but I still gave it everything I had, because every moment mattered. I wasn't working for applause. I was working for growth. I was building something in the shadows that would one day shine in the light. That's what consistency does. It builds you from the inside out. It teaches you patience, resilience, and grit. It toughens your mind. It sharpens your character. Transforms you into someone who can handle success when it finally comes. Because the truth is, if you're not consistent, you're not ready for what you're asking for. You've got to be the kind of person who can handle the weight of the blessing. And that comes through repetition, through endurance, through relentless effort. Consistency also keeps you honest. It reveals whether you're serious or just curious. Anyone can grind for a few days. Anyone can talk big when they're inspired. But the ones who keep going, even when the hype dies down, those are the ones who win. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have a safety net. I had one option: keep going. Keep showing up. Keep pushing forward, even if I could only move an inch that day. Some days I ran, some days I crawled, but I never stopped. Because I knew the ones who finished aren't the ones who started fastest. They're the ones who refuse to give up. Even now, with everything I've achieved, I don't rely on talent or time. I rely on consistency. I still wake up early. I still study. I still grind. Because I know that the moment I stop being consistent is the moment I start declining. Success isn't a destination. It's a lifestyle. You got to protect it with the same discipline that built it. You got to show up every day like your future depends on it. Because it does. Consistency taught me to stop chasing, start respecting the habits. It's the small choices made daily that lead to big breakthroughs. It's saying yes to the uncomfortable. It's saying no to distractions. It's locking in on the vision and refusing to be moved by emotion. Learned that even in chaos, I could be consistent. Even when everything around me was unstable, my actions didn't have to be. That's how you win. That's how you win. That's how you build something from nothing. One small step taken every day, no matter how you feel, no matter what's happening around you. When you stay consistent, you become dangerous because life can throw storms at you, but you don't stop. I knew from the very beginning that if I wanted to live a life worth something, I had to make sacrifices. Not little ones, not the kind that cost you comfort for a day. I'm talking about the kind of sacrifices that make you question everything. The kind that separates dreamers from doers. I had to give up what felt good in the moment for what I knew would pay off later. While people around me were going out, living for the weekend, chasing temporary highs, I was locked in, grinding in silence. I was sacrificing sleep, sacrificing fun, sacrificing comfort, because I believed in something greater than the now. I understood one of life's deepest truths. If you want to celebrate later, you have to sacrifice now. People of success, they say they want to be great, but their actions don't reflect that desire. They're not willing to pay the price. Success doesn't take discounts. It doesn't accept excuses. It doesn't bend to your schedule. It demands full payment up front. That means you're going to have to let go of some things. You're going to have to let go of some habits, some people, some comforts that feel like home, but are really holding you back. I had to say no to parties. I had to say no to spending money. I had to say no to wasting time on things that didn't push me toward my vision. And it was hard, but I knew what I was working for. I knew that the sacrifices I was making now would create the foundation for the life I wanted to live. I used to watch my friends do things I couldn't afford to do, not just financially, but mentally. I couldn't afford to waste time. I couldn't afford to be average. I was trying to build something, and that meant living different. It meant waking up earlier. It meant reading instead of relaxing. It meant choosing discipline over pleasure. And every time I sacrificed something, it hurt a little. But you know what hurt more? The thought of being in the same place 5 years from now. That thought pushed me harder than anything else. I didn't want to look back and say, I wasted time chasing comfort. I wanted to be proud of the grind, proud of what I built when nobody was watching, proud of the man I became in the fire. People think that sacrifice is just about giving things up. They missed the point. Sacrifice is an investment. It's not about what you lose. It's about what you gain. When you give up temporary pleasure, you make room for permanent growth. Every time I said no to something that looked good in the moment, I was saying yes to a future that was bigger than the pain I was feeling. That's what kept me going. That's what kept me growing. That's what kept me grounded. I had a clear picture of where I was going, and I knew that meant paying dues that most people wouldn't. The more I sacrificed, the more I started to separate myself. Not because I was better than anyone, but because I was more committed. Commitment shows in how much you're willing to let go. I didn't want balance. I wanted greatness. I didn't want average. I wanted legendary. And that kind of life doesn't come easy. It demands all of you. Your time, your energy, your heart. I couldn't hold on to the old version of me and expect a new future. I had to let go. I had to grow. And growth only happens when you're willing to give something up to rise. There were days I questioned if it was worth it. Days when it felt like I was missing out on everything. But what I came to realize was that I wasn't missing out. I was trading up. I was trading noise for peace. I was trading distraction for purpose. I was trading short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. And when you finally start seeing the results, when the doors start opening, when the breakthroughs start coming, you understand that every sacrifice was a seed that took time, patience, and pain to grow. But when it bloomed, it was beautiful. It was powerful. It was worth it. You see, the world will tempt you with shortcuts. It'll tell you to take it easy, that you're working too hard, that you're missing out. But don't listen, no. Don't listen. Don't fall for that lie. Because what you're building requires isolation. It requires discipline. It requires sacrifice. And while others are laughing now, partying now, chilling now, you're preparing. You're planting. You're becoming. And when your season comes, you won't be scrambling to get ready. You'll already be ready. That's what sacrifice does. It prepares you to handle what's coming. There's going to come a moment when all the time you spend grinding, all the nights you stayed up, all the things you said no to, it's all going to make sense. That delayed gratification, it turns into real joy. That vision you protected with your sacrifices, it becomes your reality. I've lived it. I felt the weight of walking away from comfort, and I've tasted the reward of staying the course. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd sacrifice even more. Because nothing tastes sweeter than success earned the hard way. I didn't get here by luck. I didn't stumble into my purpose. I didn't wake up one day successful. I had to move with faith, stay focused, and keep the fire burning even when life tried to blow it out. Faith, focus, and fire. Those three things carried me through the darkest valleys, through the seasons where nothing made sense, when everything around me told me to quit. Faith was what I had when there was no proof. When I looked at my bank account and it was empty. When I looked at my dreams and they felt far away. When I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't see who I wanted to be yet. I had to believe anyway. I had to believe anyway when nothing looked possible. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting that if you keep showing up, keep grinding, and keep holding the vision, something powerful will break through. People think faith is about feeling good, but real faith shows up when you don't feel anything at all, when it's silent. When you pray and don't hear anything back, when the doors are closed, when the rejections pile up, that's when real faith gets built. That's when you dig deep and say, I still believe. I still trust. I still move. I walked by faith when I was broke, when I was tired, when I was invisible. I had to believe in myself long before anyone else believed in me. I had to believe that my purpose was bigger than my pain, that the vision in my heart was planted there for a reason. Faith gave me the fuel to keep climbing, to keep building when I didn't see any progress. It gave me permission to dream, even when I didn't have a single reason to. But faith without focus is just a wish. You can believe all you want, but if your life is full of distractions, full of detours, you'll never move forward. Focus is what separates those who talk from those who execute. I had to learn to block out the noise. I had to learn to ignore the opinions. I had to shut out everything that didn't feed my vision. That meant turning off the television. That meant getting off social media. That meant cutting off relationships that pulled me away from my purpose. Focus is ruthless. It demands your full attention. It doesn't accept half effort. I couldn't afford to chase 10 things at once. I had to zero in on my mission. I had to make it the center of my life every day. I woke up and reminded myself why I started. Every day I recommitted to the grind. That's what focus looks like. It's not about being perfect. It's about being locked in. It's about training your mind to stay on task, even when you're tired, even when it's boring, even when you don't see results. I didn't just want to be busy. I wanted to be productive. I wanted to make sure every minute, every hour was moving me closer to something meaningful. So I became intentional with my time. I protected my energy. I focused on what mattered most, even if it meant sacrificing what felt good in the moment. That kind of focus creates momentum. It builds strength, and it attracts opportunities that half-focused people never see. But even with faith and focus, there's still one more thing you need: fire. That fire is your drive. It's your hunger. It's the part of you that refuses to settle. That voice inside that says, there's more in me. I had to feed that fire every day because life would try to put it out. Setbacks would try to smother it. Doubt would try to cool it down. But you have to protect your fire like your life depends on it, because it does. That fire is what gets you up at 5 a.m. That fire is what keeps you grinding when you're not getting recognition. That fire is what keeps you pushing when everyone else has given up. There were days I wanted to quit. Days when the pain was heavy, when the pressure was too much. But the fire in me said, not yet. The fire in me reminded me of every reason I started. The fire in me pulled me through the storm. That fire gave me passion. It gave me urgency. It made me relentless. People noticed it. They felt it. They were drawn to it because real fire can't be fake. Real fire shows up in how you walk, how you talk, how you carry yourself. It's that extra gear here, that inner engine that doesn't run out. I didn't wait for motivation. I created in my own fire. And once I lit it, I kept it burning. Faith got me started. Focus kept me on track. And fire kept me alive. The combination of all three created a force that nothing could stop. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying I didn't fall along the way. But I always got back up because my foundation was solid. I believed, I concentrated, and I burned with purpose. That's how I went from nothing to something. Not by chance, not by luck, but by living every day with faith in my heart, focus in my mind, and fire in my soul.